Was the moon landing faked? I am one of your hosts, Steven, alongside my co host, Will, and we are discussing this on this podcast, Beyond the Campfire.
Yeah, we don't have a theme song like you do, so
I know,
no.
we'll get one of those
Well,
eventually.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
So
get there.
yeah,
But
as Steven said, yeah, we're gonna be talking about how Neil Armstrong is the biggest fraud, how he really didn't go to the moon.
I don't know, man. I think they fought aliens or something up there.
Maybe wasn't there like a movie? Didn't they come out with like a movie where there was like an Apollo shuttle that went up there and there was like actually aliens up there? Wasn't there like a movie about that?
8 or 11 or something. Apollo and
I think it was
and
Apollo 9 or something. Apollo
maybe yeah.
Creed. Wait, no, that's a boxer.
I don't know. That's from the Rocky movie.
Yeah. So, as Steven said, I am William the Cowboy or Will the Cowboy, and I am your second co host. And yeah, like Steven said today, I'm going to be proving to you guys the reason why the moon landing was fake. This is probably going to be a shorter episode. Um, and it's going to be one of those where you're just going to kind of like buckle up with us and hold on because this is probably going to be our wackiest, least serious episodes. Depends on how you want to take it. If you side with me and you're like, yeah, the moon landing was fake, then it's not going to be wacky. But if you're like one of these people, like, this guy is stupid, the moon landing did happen, then, it's going to be wacky to you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. As normal, me and will give our thoughts at the end of it. You can probably guess how both of us lean, or maybe not. I don't know, but yeah, we'll get into it.
so yeah, we need it, in order to kind of understand, I guess, why the moon landing happened. We've got to kind of talk about something called the Cold War. And it wasn't just a war being fought in the cold. It was cold, but everybody had cold feet and didn't want to do anything.
hmm
So
ice cubes involved.
yeah, there are some ice cubes there. So take it a little bit back, okay? Our boy Archduke Franz Ferdinand got shot, right? And then World War One started, okay? And then in 1917, Russia was like, we're tired of the way our government is. We're going to revolt. And then the Communist Party took over. And then December 30th of 1922, the USSR forms. Okay. So, yeah, the USSR was that old. I thought the USSR started, like, as soon as the Cold War kicked off, that's when I thought they were like, we're the USSR. But no, they started December 30th, 1922. Um, so in 1945, World War II is roaring, and we beat some Nazi ass. Okay, we stormed the beaches of Normandy. Russia starts pushing in from the Eastern Front. We're pushing in from the Western Front. We're basically choking the Nazis. Nothing better than choking some Nazis.
I, I think you're still in the Bell Witch mode.
Yeah,
Uh,
Dami Nazis.
Dami, not. Oh my goodness.
Well, no, wait. We'd be the Dommies because we were choking the Nazis.
Something like that.
Something. Anyways, and then we beat the crap out of the Nazis, but then we still got this problem with Japan. So then we say, all right, they've got these nuclear bombs, and we nuke Japan.
And that's how anime was invented.
I'm telling you what, it is crazy to think that Japan was this glorious empire, and then we brought them to their knees, and now all they are known for is anime. Imagine
Kind of
being
crazy. So,
so great, so powerful. You're like one of the superpowers probably. And then these guys called Americans drop two bombs on you, and then all you can do is be a weeb.
I mean, I'm a weeb. I like anime. So
See, if two bombs didn't drop, Steven wouldn't be able to make TikTok.
there you go. So, have you heard of the butterfly effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how once. Well, I guess nuclear bombing is not a small event, but
Well, the crazy thing is if you go off the butterfly effect, technically, the biggest butterfly effect was that guy shooting Archduke Ferdinand.
oh yeah, change the world.
Because hey, when he shot him, World War I started, and then because the way we ended World War I, World War II started, and then because the way World War II happened, you had everything going on with Russia and the Cold War, and then because of all that, you know, it just kind of spiraled to lead to so many wars being fought, and it's all that dude's fault.
Uh,
He's probably down in hell, shaking his fist.
uh,
Like, ah, get him
or
next time.
I don't know if he was a I don't know if he loved Jesus or not, but
I don't know. That's why I didn't want to like say that and then maybe wrong, and then so he's either in heaven or he's in hell, shaking his fist. You know. Anyways, so yeah, we nuked Japan, and now we've just tested this power of a nuclear bomb, right? We got the power of a nuke, world annihilation. And because of this, Russia eventually tested their first nuclear bomb. And then in 1947 is when the Cold War officially began. Okay. Now you might be sitting there like, William, what's the point of this? We're talking about how the moon landing's fake. What does this do to the moon landing? Well, because of, this dick measuring contest between the US and Russia, and on August 2nd, 1955 is when the space race began. And that was because the United States said, we are going to put a satellite in an atmosphere. And Russia laughed and said, nah, we're going to do it first, comrade. And sure enough, October 4th, my bad, 1957 is when they launched Sputnik. So this is kind of when it all kicked off because 55, they're like, we're gonna, we as Americans say we're gonna do it. Russia's like, no, we're gonna do it. And then of course in 57 they won't launch Sputnik. So space race is officially kicking off, and this is all going to play into why the moon landing is fake. That's why I'm giving you these informations and these details. So
well, really the moon landing was the well, at least it was purported to be the culmination of the space race, if it indeed happened. Uh, because yeah, I mean, it really was a demonstration of power. It's like we have the money, we have the knowledge, we have the intuition to do this, and it's just like, well, there really were only two nations that could do it. It was the United States and uh,
yeah,
Russia at that time. So it's just like, hey, who's going to do it first? So yeah, there was definitely incentive to
oh
say
yeah,
who's going to who's going to do it. You got
yeah. Which
space.
um
How can the U.S. top that? Land on the moon.
I forgot to put this in my notes, but did you know, and this could also kind of go into a conspiracy theory, that because we beat the Nazis, did you know there was like a CIA operation where they brought over like 1,000 Nazi scientists to work for us?
I did not know that,
The reason we went to space is because of the Nazis.
man. You're
Thanks,
saying
Hitler.
American scientists weren't smart enough? We had to
No,
get some Nazi scientists?
well, because they're Jewish.
Uh,
At least I think somewhere. Probably not because they were Nazis.
I was about to say, yeah, I was like, if they're Nazis,
Well,
I
the
don't think
crazy thing is because the guy that actually helped us build the rockets, sorry to get off topic, the
they,
guy that helped us build the rockets actually was like one of Hitler's lead scientists because what like I used to because I like to watch documentaries on TV. And there's a documentary I used to watch on Netflix called like Nazi super weapons because like that was the thing that Hitler wanted to do was he wanted to make the biggest baddest weapons like the biggest tanks, and all this so that he could dominate Europe. And so this one guy was helping him create missiles basically to launch from Germany to strike at England, and they were called the VTOL rockets. And that guy got hired by the U.S. after World War II to come work for NASA to build the rockets that put us on the moon. If you believe we went to the moon, so because of Nazi engineering, we were able to go to space.
very interesting.
America.
You know, as much as I hate Nazism and I oppose the Nazis, they did have some intellect. You know, they were able to conquer large parts of Europe, and until the U.S. got into war, they were able to bring a lot of the world to its knees. So Jewish Nazis, I'm still thinking about that. That's like
I don't know if they were Jewish. I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
Chickens. That's like chickens for KFC or trees for deforestation or something.
I know.
But
Well, I don't think they were Jewish, but if they were Jewish, it's probably like a, let me work for you. I promise I'll help you. Just don't kill me.
yeah,
But
I could see that being the case.
anyways, back onto the track. So like I said, Sputnik launched in 57. And so for a little bit it felt like we were losing this space race because in 57 Sputnik launches, and then in on April 12th, 1961, Russian Yuri Gagarin, he became the first man in space. So the Russians are already beating us. They put the first satellite, they put the first guy in space. So we're over here trying our darndest to go to space. And it kind of takes a little bit of a turn because on in 1967 in January, Ed White, Gus Grissom, and Roger Chaffee, they were killed because Apollo 1's capsule caught on fire on the launch pad and they all were killed. So this is where you're sitting here hearing these kind of things and you'll kind of start to hear this is going to play a big key part in the reason why the moon landing possibly was fake. Um, December 21st of 1968, Apollo 8 orbits the moon and then comes home. Okay. If you want to believe that we've made it to the moon. And then, of course, to kind of wrap up the Cold War side of the history, because we got two sorts of histories to look into. On July 20th, 1969 is when we land on the moon. Or did we? Did we? Who knows? So that's just kind of like the quick, brief history of, us going to space and the space race. And that's just kind of what's going on with the Cold War. And all these things I'm fixing to tell you are playing into the factors of the reason why I think the moon landing was fake. So the next bit of history I have for you is a very important historical event that was also happening during the time of the space race and of us going to the moon. And that is the Vietnam War. Because in 1964 of August, the Gulf of Tonkin incident happens, which launches us into Vietnam. And I actually didn't know about this during my research of the Vietnam War. So I said July 20th, 1969 is when we went to space. That's when we landed on the moon. And that December 21st, 1968 is when we made the first orbit around the moon. Well, what if I told you 1968 as well, a year prior to, us launching and landing on the moon, as well as, a couple months before we made our little lap around. And March 16th, 1968, there was the My Lai massacre. Okay. When I was looking this up, because, I've always heard about the Vietnam War. I heard that we didn't like it as Americans. And so I was like trying to look up a timeline to see what it was looking like, to see if I could overlap anything with the space race.
Yeah.
The My Lai massacre is truly the tipping point for the Vietnam War and the American favor. And so the Americans reported that there was 347 people killed. And I've got, some information here I can read for us just to kind of tell you kind of what's going on during this My Lai massacre, because it truly to me is the tipping point for our involvement in the Vietnam War. So it happened, like I said, March 16th of 1968. And um you have this guy, his name is William Colley. Okay. Now he was charged for war crimes for what had happened. Now him and several other soldiers, they arrived at the village, and they murdered hundreds of civilians, consisting of mostly elderly men, women, and children, and infants from Allied South Vietnam. Okay. He later claimed, while because like I said, he did get tried for this. So while in court, he tried to claim that was an airstrike, a misplaced airstrike, um, that killed it. However, there was no signs. There's no evidence of this. When they got there, there was no sign of any enemy combatants. There was no North Vietnamese. This guy just walked into this village and started shooting. And here's the crazy thing to me is that, um, when he got there, the count of the dead. So there's two counts I found when I looked this up on, looking for my sources. One source said that they ended up killing 347 civilians. Okay. Other reports claim that they killed a total of 504 people. Okay. This is where it's going to get really crazy because you're like, okay, 504 people, that's a lot of people. But that was 247 families. 24 families lost everyone, 3 generations. So they wiped out 24 families, like killed them all. No one's coming back from that family. No survivors, including the 504. There were 60 elderly men, 282 women, 17 of whom were pregnant, and then a total of 173 children, and then 53 were infants.
Truly a very tragic and devastating thing that happened, carried out by American troops. Yeah, like just really awful.
Yeah, and so because of that, there is a poll I have here where at that point, about 50% of Americans started to disagree with the war. And that's where it kind of plays a role to me in whether or not the moon landing was fake. Just simply because, the Vietnam War was not the best war we were in. And yes, it's partly because of war crimes, but it's also partly because when you look back, our government did terrible things. I don't think we should blame the veterans for what happened. If you're going to follow orders, you've just got to follow orders. You can't, not follow orders. So a lot of what happened there was due to our own government. We're not going to probably go too much into conspiracy theories on Vietnam in this episode, at least. Um, but that being said, this was the tipping point that kind of pushed, you know, a lot of people not favoring the Vietnam War. You had the draft going on. You have had this massacre happening. You've had the government committing war crimes. And what makes it worse is it's not like, okay, people went to war like World War II. We have a little bit of footage, but we don't really know really what happened over there in World War II. We don't really know if there were any war crimes committed. We don't know any of that kind of stuff. The Vietnam War was televised, and that's what made the public opinion of it plummet. So, with that being said, that is where, I truly think that this is one of the things that helped cause the space race and everything, because according to this graph I found, um, almost 60% of people disagreed with the Vietnam War happening. They think we should not have been involved. And that was at the time that we launched man into space. Or not man, not man into space, but went to the moon. And so it's kind of that'll kind of play in just a second of why we probably faked the moon landing. So this is where it's going to get a little wacky because right now, it's like, cool, history, fun. Now it's time for the reasons why the moon landing was fake. Okay.
Alrighty.
All
I
right.
will say this real quick. It seems like the U.S. government was taking a series of public humiliations, and it looked like it really just wanted to have a win, and it would go to several lengths.
Yeah.
It would go to several lengths to make a win happen. Uh, I don't know, but yeah. So I'll let you go ahead and get into
Yeah.
the.
So first off, okay, when you're looking at the famous picture of Neil Armstrong, okay, he's standing there in space. Where the hell are the stars?
The stars?
Where are the stars?
That's a good question. Yeah, I have to
Yeah, where are
pull.
the stars?
So
Now, people try to say, oh, it's because it's daytime. You can't see stars. Well, I'm sorry, but they don't have an atmosphere like we do. I should be able to see some darn stars during the daytime. But sure enough, you look at the picture and it's just black. Nothing. Nothing.
okay.
Okay. Second, how come that flag is waving? There is no wind in the vacuum of space.
Uh, I think there's some wind on the moon. Is there not?
No, it's space. There's nothing.
But the flag's waving, huh?
The flags are waving.
Okay.
Um, see, I'm trying to. Also, I saw another video where it was, or like talking about their shadows. That you know, based off the way they would be in space, their shadows would look a little bit different. However, it literally looks like there's like a light behind them and it's casting down their shadows like a stage light would.
Ah, I see. I see. All that gives the impression it was done in the studio.
Yeah. And so it's like, so no stars, flag waving. There is something like their boot prints didn't look right when they landed on the moon compared to when you look at an astronaut suit. However, I think that one has been disproven, unfortunately. But once again, maybe they're just lying to cover their butts. And then another question. Okay, so after Apollo, I think that was like Apollo 11, Apollo. I don't remember which one we went to the moon on. I think it was like Apollo 11 or something. I think we went to the moon maybe once or twice after. Why haven't we been back? And don't say money, because we're sending $90 billion to Ukraine. We could be sending $90 billion to go back to space. We're
Yeah,
relying on tech billionaire Elon Musk.
different priorities. There, Russia. We're not really in the space race anymore, so there's that.
Yeah, but maybe if Elon Musk gets up there, he's going to find out. Where's the flag? Never happened.
Mm. So Elon Musk could prove definitively whether the moon landing happened or
Yeah.
not.
Now, I will say this for another evidence of why the moon landing possibly didn't happen. There are some videos out there that show Neil Armstrong denying that they went to the moon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This isn't Beyond the Culture, so we're not going to pull those videos up because we don't do that here. Um, yeah, but there's videos where he's like denying that it even happened. So I'm now going to go into the reasons why we possibly faked going to the moon, or not like why we would have done this. And I mean, the first obvious reason is Vietnam and the Cold War. Just because, like we said, the approval rating of us being in Vietnam was tanking. People didn't like the idea of us being in Vietnam. The Cold War was roaring on. Like I said, you know, 69 is when we went to space, but in 67 we lost astronauts. We really were making some progress in the space race. Like I think we put the first we put the first chimp in space, which is kind of like the first like
Non-human.
a humanoid type animal.
Okay.
Because I think the Russians just put a dog in space. We put an ape in space. So we
Yeah.
made some advancements there, but I think we were kind of lacking in the space race. And so if any reason happens for why we would want to fake a moon landing, I think Vietnam, we want that boost of morale. We want to feel proud to be Americans. We want to distract the public from Vietnam. But also, we really want to shove it to the Russians because if there's nothing I love to do more, it's shove it to the Russians and say, we're better, you know? So if we fake a moon landing and we make everybody sign an NDA and like we keep it hush hush top secret and everybody believes we went to the moon, American morale's up and the Russians are kicking themselves because crap, we failed. So now I
Yeah.
will say this, you're like, okay, we're kicking into the Russians. Why haven't we like because we actually did a joint mission with the Russians, I think, at some point to go to the moon. So, the moon landing was fake. You're probably like, okay, well, if we went up there legit, when the
Yeah.
Russians have known something was up, well, maybe they found out and we said, listen, we'll actually go to the moon together, but you've got to keep this hush hush. Who knows?
I
And
don't
the
know.
biggest reason,
Russia found out that the moon landing was fake, they'd be blasting that all over.
oh yeah, so maybe we did go back for a real after we faked it. Maybe we were almost there, but we weren't ready, and so we just decided to fake it. And then we went up there because we went up there once before the Russians, so maybe that's when we planted the flag and kept it hidden.
Right.
Um, but the biggest reason, and this goes in from not the government wanting to do it, but NASA. So you were talking earlier about humiliation, being humiliated. And a lot of conspiracy theorists claim that NASA, the landings were to avoid humiliation, that they faked it all so they wouldn't be humiliated. And a lot of people try to disprove this because they said, you know, they did incur a great deal of humiliation after Apollo 1. And that just kind of points me a little bit more to, being like, okay, they got humiliated for Apollo 1. They want to try to stop this humiliation. So why not fake it and fake the moon landing so that they could look better, so they can look good? Because they asked the government, they said, listen, we need $26 billion to go to the moon. And the government gave them 30 billion. So what do they use that 30 billion not to go to the moon, but to hire the right actors, to hire the right people, to get the right crew they needed to fake this? And so, if you're kind of like me and you're on board with old choo choo, we're on the crazy train over here for believing the moon landing was fake. You might be like, well, how could they pull this off? It's 1969. How can you fake a moon landing without, actually filming on location? In 1968, I think it was 68, or it was 69. There's a very, very, very famous movie that came out that revolutionized how movies were made. And it was pretty realistic. Do you know what movie that was?
What movie are we talking about?
2001 A Space Odyssey.
Ah, I see. I see.
Stanley Kubrick. Okay. So the conspiracy theorists believe, like me, that the moon landing was fake. That Stanley Kubrick helped us film and fake the moon landing.
Because he could do space stuff in that movie,
Yeah.
so he did it
Because
back in that day.
2001 A Space Odyssey was like revolutionary. Like, I mean, it looked like you're really in space. So that's why a lot
That,
of people say,
I guess just like my initial thought is Space Odyssey comes out in 2001. The moon landing is decades before that. So I don't know. Could Stanley Kubrick have pulled off a fake moon landing a few decades before?
no, no, no. 2001 came out the same year the moon landing happened.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying 2001 was the year it released.
No, 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 no. 2001 A Space Odyssey. That's the title of the
Oh,
movie.
it's the title of the movie.
Mhm.
I
And
see.
in the movie, they're in 2001. In real life, they filmed it back in, it was like released and everything in 68 or 69.
In the same year.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I'll
So,
ask
like,
this though. Did the Space Odyssey have stars?
oh, yeah, I think so.
If they were faking a moon landing, I feel like they would have stars then.
Maybe they forgot. I
Or
don't know.
maybe because I've heard some people say the reason you can't say because you alluded to it earlier.
Hmm.
I think I'm giving away what my position is. I think the moon landing was real, but
Mm.
we'll get into we'll get into that in just a second. But I feel like the fact that there wasn't stars in the moon landing shows to me that it probably was real because I don't think you're going to forget to do that if they're faking it. I think they just went up there and you just really couldn't see stars from that part of the moon.
Mm. Well, I'm obviously one that believes it was fake.
Yeah.
Now, could Stanley Kubrick have been the one to film this? Maybe. Could they
Uh,
have just gotten somebody within the CIA or something to film it? Maybe. But no stars, flag waving, shadows, all this. Now, that's not to say that we haven't been to the moon. Maybe at that time we just were not ready and we needed maybe another day, another year or two.
hmm.
And then, the second or third, our second or third time going to the moon was our legit time to go to the moon. I just think that based off the evidence, like I said, 67, you had the Apollo 1 go up in flames. It's obvious we were not ready enough. And we had the Russians breathing down our neck. We had the American people breathing down our neck with Vietnam. I mean, I think we just had a real good catalyst for we need to go to space. Like, whether it's faking it on a soundstage or actually trying to go,
Hmm.
we've got to. And I don't think they were quite ready. And so I think it became this big top secret project to fake the moon landing. And maybe they filmed it in Area 51. But that's just my take. I think we had a huge catalyst and a huge combination of things, and we were like, crap, we gotta do this.
Yeah,
Whether it's
I would agree with you that I think there were reasons to fake a moon landing if we weren't capable of it at the time. Uh, but I don't know. I think we were capable of it, and I think there were weird inconsistencies. I'll have to kind of go back and like look at the flag and things like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I get why people are skeptical. It definitely makes sense why people would be wonder why it is um, not real
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, so
Alrighty. So I guess that'll wrap it up for moon landing. Again, like I said, it was going to be very much a wacky episode because I have facts, but a lot of it is, you know, us trying to say, well, we got all these facts, and this is us trying to put it all together to make a nice present of moon landing's fake.
there you go. I'm surprised you didn't mention aliens.
Yeah, no, that's the funny thing, and there's no aliens in this story because it's
Well, I guess if the moon landing was fake and it was done in a studio, then there wouldn't be aliens. So,
exactly.
whereas if they actually went on the moon, hey, maybe they run into ET or something. Who knows?
Yeah, so that'll do it for this episode, guys. Let's see. Next week we're going back to a cryptid with Steven. Um, he's going to talk about the chupacabra,
Let's go, cryptids.
which are a lot the easiest. So unfortunately, you guys only get me for one episode and then 3 episodes with Steven. But don't worry, I'm coming back stronger and better than before with 2 of the biggest episodes I think we'll cover on this podcast, which is perfect because it gives me 3 weeks to prepare. Because there's some, I mean, one of those episodes, because one of those episodes is us celebrating 6 months of doing this podcast because we're getting very close to have been doing this for 6 months, and I've got a pretty good cryptid out there for us. Um, and then I don't know what else we got planned because I've got to start planning more because usually I'm the person that like start writing down episodes, coming up with some ideas. Steven actually, in let's see, not next week, but the week after, is going to be covering an alien story with the Black Knight
Hey,
satellite. I look forward to that one because, as you know, Steven doesn't believe in aliens. So,
I
will
don't.
he be changed?
But yeah,
Will he be changed?
will I be changed as I do the research? I am open to changing my mind when presented with new information. So who knows, man? Maybe I start hitting the books, watching the YouTube videos, and I'm just like, aliens are real. I've been a fool all these years.
Listen, the day Steven believes in aliens, I think the world ends.
Oh man, yeah. We'll see, man.
The
We
CIA, like, because the way Steven is, like, the CIA is gonna like kick in his door, throw a bag over his head, drag him out, and throw him in the back of a van, and they're like, he knows too much. He knows too much.
There you go. Whenever I talk about the Secret Service in my other podcast next week, hey, maybe they come and take me away. We will see.
They're just gonna nap him. All right, so yeah, that's it for this episode. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Beyond Campfire. Find us on YouTube. We will be back to being Beyond the Campfire podcast on YouTube. We have made some changes. I think what we're going to do is with podcasts going forward is on our YouTube page. There will be a Beyond the Media YouTube page. However, um, when we pull more podcasts on, I think the best logical thing to do is create a Gmail for those podcasts, and then through that Gmail, make their own YouTube page. So Steven's podcast is available right now. You can go watch it on his YouTube channel. I think it's just Sahil the Disciple.
Yeah, we have it in
Uh, and then
places.
you can find it on. Now, here's the hard part because we've got to put it out there somehow because you can find it on Spotify. It took me a little bit to search it up, but we'll definitely be putting the links out there. And then, like I said, through Gmails and stuff, Steven should have a Twitter for that soon, maybe an Instagram for it soon. Um, yeah, so I think we're releasing Wednesdays at 9 a.m.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. If you heard him talk on the podcast, he said Monday at 9 a.m. Well, we fumbled the ball.
Yeah, we're changing it to Wednesdays at 9 a.m. So
Wednesdays at 9 a.m. So don't listen to him. It's Wednesdays at 9 a.m. So go listen to that. And yeah, stay safe out there, guys. Remember, moon landing's fake. Okay. The aliens did it.
Alrighty. Okay. Y'all have a good week. Bye.
Alrighty. Thank y'all.